All right, here we go. So tonight I wanted to do a video of kind of going over some of the gear that I'm putting together. Have you ever wanted to do like your own thing? You know, you kind of get a system and you want to build things your own way and have the capabilities of not having to spend a ton of money on things that don't necessarily make a lot of sense of spending money on, extra money anyway. It's kind of where I am with my my climbing system here. And I know there's a lot of videos out there that kind of go over the do-it-yourselfer kind of deals, but a lot of those were just quick fixes in my opinion, and I wanted something a little bit more sustainable and a little bit more professional looking. So I'm just going to kind of go over some of the things that I've learned over the process of the last year or so of doing saddle hunting, and hopefully this will help some of you guys, kind of give you another avenue to take on some of this DR or DIY stuff. So little quick history on my saddle hunting. I just started saddle hunting a year ago. About the middle of the summer I purchased this Mantis saddle. It was the first saddle I'd ever tried. Basically was starting out with their way of saddle hunting, which was DRT and SRT, which is climbing techniques really used in the arborist profession. They've been using this technique for hunting for years, I guess, and it's just now become mainstream. But that's really what got me going into this saddle hunting road. So as I started purchasing some things here and there, and got my own saddle and my own rope, the first rope that I got was a 12 millimeter 16 strand rope. It was the old school climbing rope. Very big and bulky, very heavy. It was 80-foot rope, absolute overkill. But not being familiar with any of this equipment, I wanted to make dang sure that I was going to be safe, okay? So I kind of went a little overboard when it came to size of rope and stuff like that. I just, that was kind of my introduction to the ropes and how big of a rope you really need and the structural integrity of these ropes. So I now have since moved to a smaller diameter rope. This is the Samson Predator line. It's at 11 mil, and it's quite a bit smaller in diameter than the big old school stuff that I used before. But even then, there was a couple things that I was doing with the old rope that was kind of a burden when it came to saddle hunting. So the bridge, or the saddle that I have is the Mantis. Now the bridge that was on this originally was a Amsteel bridge, and it hung way down. Okay, it was very long. It wasn't adjustable. And I really was not comfortable with that bridge being that long. So that's kind of what got me started down this rabbit hole of DIY, do-it-yourself kind of projects. There's a lot of them out there on YouTube and stuff that guys have done over the years to their equipment to make it more affordable for them to have and get use out of what they have. But for myself, I kind of like streamline. I like professional looking stuff, and I'm just not really into just tying knots to get through the day, if you know what I mean. I just it's like this one, for instance. This was the first bridge that I put on to take place of that Amsteel one, and it's just it's a bridge material. It's probably this might even be an 11 or 10. This is probably a 10 mil bridge material, but I just basically tied it on and duct taped the ends so I could tell if they were moving. Okay, very gaudy looking, not very good. Okay, so then I kind of went down the road of, well, I've got like leather sewing materials. Why could I not sew my own bridge? And what I ended up using was just serving string for your bow. Okay, I had serving string laying around, and I'm just like, well, you know, that should be more than adequate for sewing that stuff up. So that's what I did. I just took, basically I took a tether off of a tree stand harness, and it was 2 inches wide, webbing, okay, very strong material. Folded it over into a 1 inch, sewed the open end, and then looped it over my saddle tie-ins for my bridges, and sewed those. So I have a sewn bridge right here that I made myself. More than adequate, more than strong enough to hold me. I've been climbing on this the whole time. So I have no qualms with using that bridge. It's shorter, it's easier to climb with, it's easier to pull with. It's just a lot more comfortable. So after I went down that road there, the gates were kind of open for me for, you know, there was really nothing that I didn't feel that I could not do myself when it came to sewing things. So my next project ended up being my tether or my lanyard. So I ordered a lanyard, or I had my 50-foot rope, okay, and this rope here is a different system than what I used with my old school rope. Basically what it has is a separate tie-in, just a lead. So when I come up off the tree, and I've got videos of this actually if you go back and watch them, but there's 2 eyes, one on each end of the rope, well, on one end of the rope, and then there's another 5-foot rope that I do my Blake's hitch on, and then that has another tie-dye built onto it. So these two come together, clip into my carabiner, which is clipped into my bridge. Okay, I know this is probably a little confusing if you've never looked into this, or it's the first time you've heard of it, but anyway, so this moves by itself and stays on my main rope at all times. So I'm not having to take this rope down, pull 5 foot off, tie into my carabiner, and then wrap the Blake's hitch off of this. So I'm burning, if I have a 50-foot rope, I'm burning 5 or 6 foot right here in knot and my Blake hitch, okay? So in reality, my rope has just shrunk down to a 42. That's what I wanted to get away from. So that's why I went with this. It's called a spliced eye, or a spliced rope technique, basically. And I'm not explaining that very well. I have a video out there that kind of shows it in detail. So if you're interested in that, this is a 50-foot rope, so I actually have 50 foot of rope to climb with. So I recently ordered 100 foot of that same Predator line, and my thought process was that I wanted a little bit longer rope than the 50-foot rope if I wanted to get into bigger trees. So I ordered 100 foot with the idea that I was going to take off 7 foot for a lanyard, which I had not used prior because I had the DRT, which that was basically my climbing system, and I didn't need to worry about being safe because I was already tied in the whole time up and the whole time down. But where the lanyard comes in is if you have a step system or sticks, okay? So I needed a lanyard because I bought a set of sticks. The reason for the sticks was where I live here, I've got a lot of cottonwood trees. If you're familiar with cottonwood trees, they are the most unorganized growing tree there is out there, I think. They just either grow huge or real spindly, and they go anywhere and everywhere. They're just crazy trees, and the bark is really wide and thick and heavy. Just not real suitable trees for DRT climbing. Having a lot of trouble finding good straight yoked trees close to where I wanted to hunt. So I was having to really pick and choose what trees I was using with this process. So that kind of sent me down another path of buying some sticks. So I ended up buying the Hawk Heliums, the new mini series that they came out with, I believe just a year or so ago, or a half a year ago. It's a two-step system. And basically it comes with 4 sticks, and then it comes with a strap system, like a woven strap, basically like this, but with a buckle, a cinch buckle. There again, I wanted to get away from all of the metal and as much as I could in the weight. So there's a do-it-yourself phenomenon on YouTube going around of guys making ropes for their sticks to tie into on the tree, and that's what I did. I started ordered some 8mm. This is 8mm rope. Okay, now when you do these kind of projects, you really want to make sure that you're getting climbing grade rope. And with that being said, I do not recommend people doing this, but to each is his own. I'm doing it. I take full responsibility for my own actions, okay? So what I decided to do was make my own rope mods. Basically, this is an 8mm rope, 8 foot long. What I did was make a loop, did my tie, sewed it with that serving string, and then took heat shrink and heat shrink the end to protect my serving. So right there I have a rope mod that I can hook on to my stick right here, wraps around the tree, comes back in. There's a technique that you use to kind of lock it in. You cinch it down and you're good to go. It saves on weight, saves on metal clanking, and is a lot lighter. So that is my rope system that I use for my sticks, and I will do some other videos showing how I'm using these. And there's plenty of them out there on YouTube, so if you want to see that right now, I will hopefully have that video up by now, or you can go to other channels and actually see that in action. But like I said, everybody has their own way of doing it. A lot of guys will just tie loops on the end of a rope and call it a day. However, like I said, I want everything streamlined when I'm building stuff, and a little bit more professional looking. Here again was another modification that I made with the sewing technique. Once again, I ordered webbing, 1-inch webbing, military grade webbing for like packs and things of that nature. So it's a very structurally sound webbing, basically the same stuff that's used in the harnesses. And I made a aider for my sticks. So what that boils down to is there's several different aider types out there and systems. Some guys will make order aiders which have multiple steps on them. So you have 2 or 3 steps, and then they just kind of throw it over their neck and stuff, and then they climb up and they throw it on the next stick, and it gives them basically another couple feet or so to add to their length going into the tree. I know I'm not explaining that very well, but anyway, what it does is it extends the height that you can put these sticks at. So if I put this first stick up on the tree, this aider will come off the button and hang down another foot. So basically what I do with this, my aider, is it goes around my foot, straps and cinches down to my foot, and then I can step up and it's always on my foot. And then once I get up to my top, I can take that off, put my next one on, and keep going up that way. So that way it's not falling off and hitting the ground. You've always got it around your foot or clipped into your harness or your saddle. So those are 2 of the projects that I kind of started out with when it came to sewing. Those were kind of with my bridge being the first. Then it just kind of opened avenues for me to not have to order anything. I could just make my own. So one of the other things that I just recently built, when I talked about my ropes, having the double rope system, where I have my main rope coming over with a tie-dye on the one end and a separate rope for my tie-in, a 5-foot lead off of that coming to a carabiner. And that 5-foot piece of rope, ordering that, cost me like $15-20. So it was pretty expensive for them to make that eye for me on that rope. And that's basically like this one here on my lanyard. This was the other end of the 100-foot rope that I had ordered. They put a eye on both ends of that rope, so I ended up cutting off a 7-foot piece for my lanyard, leaving the factory tie-dye on one end, using for my lanyard, and then I've got my Ropeman 1 on here, and makes it very easy to adjust. So once I cut that other eye off, I was like, well, you know what? I need another 5-foot section to go on to my long rope. I still had like 90 foot of rope left over, but I needed that 5-foot one, and I had used my eyes already. I wanted one on my main rope, and I had cut the other one off for my lanyard. So I'm thinking, well, if I cut a 5-foot section out of that, I'm going to have to tie a knot. And then I thought to myself, wait a minute now, I just got done making my ropes for my sticks. Why can I not sew my own tie-dye on my 5-foot extension rope? So that's what I did, and I'll show you that here. So this has become basically an 88-foot rope with the tie-dye, factory tie-dye on that one end, and then just a knot, stopper knot on the other end. And then here I have my clip-in rope for my carabiner, and I built my own tie-dye. So what I did was took a serving for your bows, and I sewed this. I went through both ends, and I'll show you how I did that here in a minute. But I just went through and made sutures through this whole rope, just kept going through it, and then I went back and backlashed it like I was serving a string on my bow. Basically the same technique you use when you're serving a string on a bow, okay? But I was actually taking a needle and running that serving string through both ropes, both sides and just keep going through that. With the factory one, they basically have a machine that does this, and it just goes right down the center and just makes a really tight stitching right down the center, and then they put the heat shrink stuff over the top of that. So in essence, it's the same thing that I just did with this one. So you can see their factory and mine. So really sleek, very strong. There's no way that's going to break on me. And I'm very happy that I went ahead and did that process on my own. Saved me some money. And I have all the confidence in the world that that's going to be strong enough to hold me. So let me kind of show you what I was referring to when I said I was sewing my own eyes. So if I take this 8mm rope, okay, and I bend this over and leave like a 2-inch lead off that, and then you have your tie-dye right here. And then basically what you'll do is take your needle through here, up, stopper knot on the back side, and then just bring it back around, go back up through, and just keep doing that until you come all the way to where you want to stop. Okay, and then that's sewn to that point. Then you take all your extra string and you serve it all the way down to where you started, and then tie those two ends into each other, and then take heat shrink, slide that over the top, and heat it up and shrink it on there. So very sleek profile, very professional looking, and strong. That serving string is not going to break on you. So anyway, those are the materials that I use for my DIY climbing system. The 1-inch webbing, rope, climbing grade rope, all that stuff can be used in making your own systems, and that sewing process really comes in handy if you do it right. Anyway, thank you for watching Public's Eye Outdoors. I appreciate everybody. If you get a chance, please hit that like and subscribe. Share with your friends, and give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we will have some other content coming up here in the near future. I do have another saddle coming that I ordered, and it's basically an upgrade from the Mantis. It's going to be the Phantom. Very excited to put that to use and see what the difference is. From what I've seen from the reviews, there's quite a bit of a comfort difference from the Mantis to the Phantom. So once we get that, we'll bring you a video on that and kind of explain the differences in those two. But these saddles have been around for a couple years now, so there's plenty of videos out there. But if you want to stick around on my videos, I really appreciate it, and I want to try and give you guys as much information. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments. If you got any suggestions, leave them in the comments. I'm always answering my comments as to my best ability. It's easy to do now because I really don't have a ton of subscribers, but with that being said, hopefully we're going to be able to grow, and I will still try my darndest to get back to you all. And if you leave a comment or have any questions, I will try to get to you as soon as I possibly can. So anyway, thanks for watching. As always, stay safe in your hunts out there, everybody, and we will see you on the next video.